an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering One Piece, episodes 213, 214, and 215. In these episodes, the crew plays roller derby, basically. And after all of it, after they win, they get Chopper back, Luffy agrees to another round. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Florian for commissioning this episode. So, okay. First of all, I need to say right out of the gate how much I really love this arc so much. So far? So much, yes. But also so far. I feel like the whole we're gonna say yes to another round. I feel like I should have been more mad about it than I was. But that round was just really fun to watch. So I couldn't even get mad about it. I really enjoy the kind of high stakes, but everybody else not being affected necessarily. It's just our crew that's on the line. The silliness of the overall games, and because of the way this is set up, I'm realizing a major factor in its favor for me. Our crew isn't getting split up. Only some of them can play in certain rounds but they're all together, able to communicate with each other from off the field or wherever. And that means that we get time with everybody and we get to see everybody interacting with each other. And that is something that is so rare on this show, and is something that I really like. I really enjoy getting to see. So I just really, and the only one I was going to say, nobody is separated. Chopper is separated from them. So I will say that. But then in the second round, they're going to have Chopper too. So it sort of weirdly makes sense to me that Luffy would want to do a second round because he is feeling like we didn't get a fair shot since we lost Chopper right away and we were down a teammate the whole time. That is to say, not a fair shot despite actually winding up winning anyway, but whatever. So Gus says this is part of the stretching for the anime. In the manga, they do the boat race, lose Chopper, do the ball game, win Chopper back, and then the last round. Okay. Well, I have no problem with it. Let the record show. Y'all know, stretching, it's a real gamble, but I feel like they're doing it in a fun way, so I'm not mad about it. So, when we start 213, our friends are just about to begin the roller. I'm just going to call it the roller derby, because they keep calling it something else, and I'm just kind of I guess. And honestly, have you guys ever actually gone to a roller derby match? I've never been to one. And I've watched them online. Of course, I think the movie was called Whip It with Elliot Page. And that was super fun. And I did have a moment, which I think a lot of women my age probably had, where I thought maybe I should just play roller derby. Maybe that'll be my thing. And then I began to think about it, and I was like, no, the only thing that appeals to me is coming up with a punny name and then buying really cute gear. But actually getting hurt on roller skates and tackling people and shit, that doesn't appeal. So actually I'll pass. It's kind of funny too, because my initial thought was that would be a great way to get out some aggression, because I am somebody who feels like I'm always ready for a fight in my heart. But there's something different about a fight out of righteous indignation versus a sport fight. It's just not going to be the same. So anyway, how many people listening to this episode can roller skate. I can a bit. I am not good at it. That was also a factor in me being like, I would have to learn something so basic, and I don't know that I'm ready for that. It's supposed to be some of the best exercise you can get, but I really have always found that, like, when I've tried roller skating myself, I've either gotten cheap. I did roller blades for a bit because those were really such a thing in the 2000s and 90s. So I did roller blades, and the ones I usually got were pretty cheap, dug into my shins, hated them. Or I've done like rented ones, which are the worst and super uncomfortable. And I don't want to roller skate like in the road in front of my house. Like, you have to have a rink, and we don't have one. We did. Apparently there was like a storm and it blew the roof in and the place never recovered. But it's not something that I'm like in practice averse to, or in theory averse to, but in practice, it takes like a special circumstance aligning that I feel like I don't know if it's ever going to happen for me. And it does make me a little sad, because when you see people roller skating in like TikTok videos and whatnot, either by themselves on the street or on a rink, they seem like they're having a great fucking time. And like, you can wear sick outfits because it's not the kind of thing that you're going to probably be getting like super dirty. So it's got style to it. And especially in a rink, you have the musical accompaniment, which y'all know I am about. Part of me just really wants to, but it feels like it feels like when you're pushing 40, taking on something like that feels like more overwhelming than it did. It's not impossible, but it just feels like I'm going to have to really want to put energy into that if I want to have fun, you know? So anyway, Gus says he can. Haven't used skates much, but rollerblades, yeah. So anyway, what this turns out to be, and I cannot tell you guys how many times these 3 episodes in particular, I think these 3 altogether made me laugh out loud more times than any other like grouping of episodes. And that may like not be actually true, but it feels true. I was laughing, like genuinely out loud laughing a couple of times. This revelation, first of all, we have the fact that Luffy can't roller skate, but that Sanji scheduled Luffy to go twice because they are 1 player short of the requirement for every player to get to go once around as the point winner. So one of them has to go 2 times, and Sanji puts down Luffy. And I've got to tell you, that felt right to me. Him putting Luffy down twice, it didn't even really like occur to me to not do that, because he's just the guy. And Luffy is so physical that it felt like putting him in twice for something that is so goofy in a lot of ways just made sense. So when it turns out that Luffy can't roller skate, I was as surprised as any of them. And that is the part I think I found the funniest, is that like, I have no reason to assume any of them know how to roller skate. Why would I think that? But if you were going to ask me, I would think Zoro's the one that doesn't know how. And it makes sense that he does, because like, he is somebody who probably, I am going to guess, would try every sport like at least a couple of times. He would want to try to be perfect at everything and then be like, but I disdain you. It's sword fighting for me. And then just return to his thing, smug with the satisfaction that he knows how to do the other things. And that makes sense when I step back and think about it. But out of everybody, he's the one that seems to hate fun. And I don't think of it as a sport before I think of it as just something you do for fun. So I'm thinking Zoro can't. And for it to be Luffy that can't, I mean, I was like, what a missed opportunity. And sure enough, once he's like got it and starts going, he is having a fucking ball. He loves how fast it is. So it's definitely like, I was right about what his overall feeling would be on roller skating, but I just didn't think about who would have taught him. Why would he know how to do it? And I stand by it because there's no reason to think that he wouldn't know. And I am just like, the whole bit of him continually trying to stand up and falling down again is so fucking stupid and very funny. It's like pratfalls are hard to make truly funny if you have more than one in a row. It can work once and, you know, like you start to do more than one and it can get really like tricky and old if it's not done right. And they have it animated in such a way that every time he does it, his fall is like slightly different. And the way he's trying to keep himself upright is slightly different. And it just was really giving Mr. Bean. Like that whole, you know, Mr. Bean can just fuck something up repeatedly. And every time he does it, you just can't help but laugh, even though he just did it. And the pratfalls are truly so embarrassing, like the timing of them on top of just how they're being done in the animation. The moments in which he falls and the like declarations he makes trying to stand up and then falls. That is timed so well. Plus, I have decided that the woman who does Luffy's voice acting is like my favorite, low-key. I had a real problem with Luffy's voice in the dub. As I think a lot of you know, like when I first started watching, I was like, what is this? Because he has a very high-pitched, like childlike sound to him in the original. And then we've got this woman who's doing sort of a like rough teen, like Jock feels too strong, but there is something about him that just feels like he could be a bully almost, you know? He's got a more intimidating voice for sure. And I kind of wasn't sure how I felt about it. But I have grown to really like her. And eventually in this section, there's a part where he's eating a long kiwi. And both Robin and, oh my God, I'm wanting to say Nico because it's Nico Robin. Nami. I was going to say both Robin and Nico, you guys. Ugh. Both Nami and Robin come in and are like, what are you eating? And he says, it's a really long kiwi. It actually tastes pretty good. Then there's this long pause as they just stare at him. And finally he goes, you can't have any. And she freaks out and is like, I didn't want any anyway. And that shit, the delivery of you can't have any was so good. That really made me laugh. There was something about him like really thinking he was reading the room correctly when in fact they're all just kind of like, man, what are you doing? You know? So between that and the shouting that she does when Luffy is falling on his face, this was just a lot of really good comedic timing and tone and inflection, all piled on top of really hilarious animation. And I was loving it so much. And what they have doing, like, they're doing the thing here, of course, still, because we're still in the first, like, trio of contests, where the Foxy Pirates are cheating all over the place. Like, it's just not even, they're not even pretending to not be cheating. And I kind of thought, we're going to get another round and it's going to be like that. But what they're doing in the second round is different in that it's just a giant rule book full of weirdo rules so that you can like say it's not that they're cheating, it's that they're sticking to the rules, but you can maintain the sort of comedy of just being able to cut in and be like, actually, that's not allowed. Or actually, you can do that. That's fine. And I feel like that is a pretty genius move as well. Figuring out how are we going to like keep it going that every 5 minutes there's an addendum to the way the game is and not have it be cheating. And it's a giant rule book and then a third party. It's not the same ref. So he gets kicked out for this veteran and his sort of apprentices that are all overlooking the game at the same time because they are that careful about following the rules. And it's just a really smart way to juke in the other direction and still really achieve the same result in a lot of ways. So let's see. Gus says, I didn't mind the dub when I first watched. Nothing wrong with Luffy's voice, at least. Then I was forced to switch to subs since there were no more dubbed episodes, and I fell in love with all the original VAs. Now I can't go back. I'm glad it works for you, though. Yeah, I could see that. Like, you guys know, though, for me, the dub was just what really started to connect me to the characters. And while I imagine if I went back, I would be like, oh, right, that's what they're supposed to sound like. Also, I feel like there's something about the way Luffy's voice sounds that makes him almost sound like a surfer dude or something. And the idea of him being a dumb surfer guy also kind of fits with the character he's playing. And it was harder for me to be mad at him when he had a real childlike voice. It's a lot easier for me to be like, what the fuck, man? When he's got the surfer guy voice. Okay, so anyway, like I was saying, the whole thing is about them being allowed to either cheat or do weird shit. So the first thing that they have to contend with is not even cheating. It's just, well, I guess it depends on whether you count having actual giants on your team cheating, and I guess you would. So it does involve some cheating, but it's not really the cheating that's the problem. It's the fact that they didn't know Luffy couldn't skate. So he is not even able to pass the fucking starting line. And they're like, what are we going to do? How are we going to figure this out? And eventually what they do is, because the way it's played is that the like points earner goes out 20 seconds earlier and then the defenders come out and follow and either can try and help the point earner or they can fuck with the other team. And what Nami decides to do is to like shove him and help him along. And he's like in his balloon form because the giant tries to fall on top of him to keep him from being able to move or do anything. But he inflates himself and causes the giant to basically like bounce up off him again and be like, wait, what? So Nami scoots forward, starts shoving him, and then Robin uses her power to make a bunch of arms along the track and like hand Luffy off throughout. It's so trippy looking, but it was pretty fun that like one of the obstacles isn't even going to be the other team. It's their own team just not having thought through, well, what are people actually good at? What have they talked about with each other? So then we have Usop's turn, and this whole like what happens is Usop is out in front. He is supposed to be getting backed by the defenders, Nami and I think Robin in this turn. And all of a sudden, that weird girl with the nose pops up and uses a hypnosis spell on them. Flower hypnosis. Which, it's not exactly hypnosis. It's really just a roofie. Low-key. Like, she knocks everybody out. And eventually, when they wake up, they realize that even though it looks like that giant who has been taking forever has barely moved, it's been enough time for him to get all the way around, and they have just been unconscious. So when Nami wakes up, she looks over and Chopper is yelling at her, hurry, get up, let's go. And Nami doesn't process it. She's still real fuzzy and is like, wait, what do you mean? And as she's just standing there looking at Chopper, the guy crosses the finish line and Nami realizes what happened. So poor Chopper is just sitting there flipping out because like that shit is, it's just not looking good for him. And even Nami at one point is like, man, we were so sure that what we were going to be doing was to help Chopper, but it's kind of looking like maybe we should be worried about ourselves actually. And yeah, the loss of 2 in a row starts to get everybody kind of going, all right, it's time to be more serious about this. So this is when Usop is like, all right, I guess it's up to me. And he puts his goggles on and he continues around the track. And behind him is coming the cheetah. And this cheetah, this is another moment, guys, where I was laughing so hard. The cheetah passes Usop really quickly and almost knocks him down. And Usop goes through this series of almost fallings before finally like completely straightening his arms out to either side and dropping down and looking really focused. And I will be damned if that's not how it looks when you regain your balance. Like there's a moment of absolute pandemonium as your body moves in 12 different ways trying to find a center of gravity. And then all of a sudden you find it and you like zip still and are just like, okay, I'm still standing up. And I don't know why, but this got to me so bad. He is so serious all of a sudden, you know? So yeah, they're all watching him and poor fucking, I felt so much for Chopper during this section because he really is starting to think they are not going to get me. On the sidelines, Luffy is figuring out how to skate. And they don't have him get it right away. Eventually, when he does, he doesn't know how to turn, is what happens. Zoro realizes that he hasn't taught him. Now, I have no problem with this, for the record. I have no problem with the fact that he doesn't know how to turn being an issue in this show. And I will freely admit, having never roller skated on a course that's elevated on one edge like this, I don't know. But I have to imagine, even if you weren't taught how to turn, if the course curves like this, all you really need to do is sort of drop into your feet and let it carry you, and the velocity would be accelerated by the turn, and that would like slingshot you out the other side. I don't know that. It's just how I would assume it sort of works. And Luffy doesn't really know to do that. And in this universe, it doesn't really work like that. So he just goes flying straight off the side of the track. Even though he's going super fast, it's looking really good for him. He's managing to like keep up with Chiquichita, I think is the way he's called, which I love that name. So it's really like kind of impressive. But when he goes through that wall and he holds on, you guys, this is another part that made me laugh out loud. He goes through the wall. I'm already laughing. He's holding onto the wall with his hands, totally down for it. Chiquichita jumps up, slams his feet on the wall to cause Luffy to sail the rest of the way out. And it's not just that Luffy sails outward. It is that the camera just stays and lets him sail out of sight and then stays for a minute on just the like open sky and empty air where he was for just long enough that for some reason that really got to me. And then we cut to Luffy, who has of course landed on his head, and it's just really embarrassing. And everybody else is having to sort of like, you know, keep it going, even though they were hoping he was going to be able to help them out, and it's looking like no. Usop is skating like a motherfucker. He's really going for it, but he is still kind of behind. And Robin grabs him by the hand extending her arm with her power and does that thing and like whips him around. And she does a whip it, basically. And the cheetah guy is feeling himself and like, okay, yeah, you passed me, but I'm still going to be able to get you. And a couple of things happen here. So first we've got this weird dude who's like an octopus. And he is saying, don't worry, I'm going to deal with Nico Robin. And then we have the cheetah who is like doing his turns by grabbing the like posts with his tail and whipping himself around as well. I really appreciated when he goes out of bounds because of his tail that Sanji yells at the ref and is just like, what the fuck? Out of bounds is supposedly enough to get you taken off. And the ref says the air is a free zone. So this weird octopus dude, he sneaks up on Robin and she is using her ability back at him to kind of try and like yank his head back and mess with him. But he is invertebrate, as we find out. So her doing that just doesn't accomplish anything. And he holds her still enough that the boss is able to shoot them all with his slow ray. And it's funny because like octopus guy gets hit with it as well, I guess. But apparently he is not affected by it. And when they ask why, I can't remember the girl's name. I just keep forgetting. But she says that it's a secret. So Sanji is on the sidelines trying to think of something. And what he comes up with is, hey, where do those kiwis come from? And he yells it up to the guy in the stands, their friend that they made at the beginning. And he tells Zoro he has to go out to one of those trees. And Zoro is like, what the fuck are you talking about? And Sanji is like, look, this might be the only way. I know we don't get along, but please do this. So Zoro goes out there and he has Shelly, the horse, to ride on. He heads for the nearest kiwi tree and cuts it down. And it falls across the track and completely distracts this cheetah. And it's really weird. Because what it's supposed to be is that this super long tree covered in kiwis is like catnip. And basically Sanji just bet on the fact that this cheetah, being of the cat family, would go for it. But I am willing, like I've said, I am willing to accept this for the sake of this universe, but I also really want to know, is that a thing? Are like cats into kiwi fruits? I just never really it's the sort of thing that it sounds fake to me, but why? The fact that catnip works on cats, and not all cats, by the way. It's like, so I've met a surprising number who could give a shit about catnip. But that exists. Why can't more than one plant exist that would have this sort of effect? I don't know. But yeah, he is outside of bounds, so he winds up getting kicked out because he's too busy rolling around in the catnip. And that was just such a weird solution. What a wild one. So then we have this moment, because they've won this round. Usop is pulling away from Nami and says, "Oh, you're a bad girl. That's naughty." And she looks at him with a similar face and says, "Good idea, huh?" And they both have these super mischievous faces on. And low-key, I wish that was just how they were drawn. It's just so great. I want an entire illustration of like the crew with all of them looking like this. Like they just played a prank and they're waiting for it to go off, you know? But let's see. Gus says it's filler, so it doesn't make much sense in universe either, since the cheetah guy is just a dude with a Zoan devil fruit. But yes, I think some types of kiwis are like catnip. That is wild. I want to test that out. I have an outdoor cat that we feed, and I have tried using catnip to like lure her into a sort of bedding area because I feel like it would be safer for her in there, even if she's not going to stay in our house. And she'll like sniff around, but it doesn't really draw her. Versus my cats, you just, like when I came in and I had sprinkled some and it was just on my hands, both of them like got up from a sleep and came over and were like, yo, what's up? So it's just all over the place how well that works. So, yeah, Nami has this plan, and what it is basically they're going to take advantage of the fact that the Foxy is so sensitive and has such a fragile ego that if they're relying on his slow ray to do something, all they need to do is make sure he can't use it and they'll be golden. So they confuse him and distract him by Usop yelling insults at him, while then Nami says something really flattering and complimentary about him, and they basically pretend to be arguing over how great he is or is not, so that he, because his ego can't help it, is totally distracted from the actual like match by this conversation about him. And it works really, really well. And the whole way that he sort of inflates and deflates and like it just the way it's animated is really funny to me, and I truly related. Honestly, it's one of those things that this is why I don't read reviews anymore, because it just like it can be such an up and down, and letting a random person's opinion inflate and deflate you like this, it's not healthy. It's not good for you. But it's like really difficult to not take some shit personally sometimes, you know? And I just stay away from it because frankly, unless you're going to like get really aggro and in my face about it, it's none of my business, you know? So anyway, that's going on. And meanwhile, Luffy like decks the octopus guy, and he winds up crumpled in the corner. And Robin is continuing around as Luffy says, I'll take care of this guy. And he's just standing there with his back to the dude, which I kept thinking like, yeah, you punched him hard and he seems like he's maybe passed out this instant, but don't turn your back on the guy, Luffy. Like, come on, how often have we done this? Meanwhile, there's that human wall at the end, and Robin uses her abilities to lift herself into the air and jump right over the guy. It's just great. So, Octopus Guy comes too, and Luffy is just standing over him and says, I'd stay down if I were you. Y'all, I was so certain that him having his back to the guy was going to be this big ass problem. It turns out that not only does he just not, like, he stays passed out a lot longer than I was thinking, but also he's that easily intimidated by Luffy at this point that he'll just sit there and not make trouble. That's actually kind of impressive. I'm not even mad about that. So yeah, then we get the, I'm trying to see exactly because I'm forgetting how they win at the end here. Sanji is so excited as he's talking to that girl about like why the other dude isn't affected by the ray, the slow ray. And it was so funny because I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt here, that he was using his wiles to find out information, but it becomes pretty clear that's not happening. He's just asking because he is trying to continue a conversation. And all he can think about is keeping talking to her. Oh my God. He is so pitiful. You guys, he winds up with this whole thing later on that I was ready to kill him. So I'm going to jump ahead here, but Robin wins. And then we get like the last match, and this is when Luffy uses his arm to like wrap and jump around, and he really like goes to town and is the outright winner. He does take Chopper back. I cannot tell you guys. I really wasn't sure, and I don't like to feel that way about him, but like, Luffy makes bad choices. That's the whole thing. So if he hadn't picked Chopper again, I wouldn't even have been surprised. I would just have been mad. But he does. And Chopper just basically catapults himself off of the chair into Luffy's arms. And his whole little mask that they gave him, which makes him look a lot more like a raccoon, which almost feels like it has to be part of a joke to me because of the raccoon dog thing. But it just goes flying. And I really enjoy that the girl Porsche, is that how you say it, Gus? Porsche, is completely unbothered by how little Chopper wanted to be part of their team, and just yells after him how she'll miss him. And I was like, girl, he don't care. What are you doing? So this is when Foxy says, well, how about another round? And of course, I love how both Usop and Nami are off to the side. Like, yeah, like we're going to do that. What kind of idiot would agree to that? And just as they say that, they both go, oh, wait, no. Because, yes, Luffy has said, all right, let's do it. And they jump on him and basically beat the hell out of him. And he eventually stands up and says, okay, I promise that'll be the last one. And I was like, I'm not even sure I believe you, sir. I just feel like you might forget and just say whatever again. So at this point, poor Chopper is just like, my God, I can't believe you're putting me through this again. And it's not even necessarily that they'll take Chopper back. They might. It would be kind of fucked up if they just like took him again. But if you lose your first choice and you're in a position to take him back, I don't see why you wouldn't. So this is the dodgeball game. And the whole way that this works, okay, so I already asked y'all about who roller skates. How many of y'all played dodgeball? Because as a kid, dodgeball was the game I hated the most. And I know a lot of it for people is like choosing teams and how traumatic that is. I fully agree. Honestly, the choosing teams thing, I don't even think should be allowed. Like, the teacher puts the teams together, pick different teams, or better yet, have people play with their friends. Just put people who like each other together and don't even, like, think about the scoring. I would rather be with people that I like. That's just me. But what I hated about dodgeball was the getting hit in the face. The like, you are trying to hit somebody and it gives the excuse to kids who are otherwise usually told not to hit to attempt to hit you as hard as fucking possible now. And that's considered the game. I fucking hated this. Oh my God. It was the worst. So I just don't have good feelings about dodgeball. And it was a bit of whiplash for me to go from the roller derby thing, which I was pretty stoked about, to then like my least favorite game. And I shouldn't even say that because it isn't really, but as far as my personal experience, I would have to say it's pretty close. But yeah, anyway, this is when they say something about, what is the point of doing this? You guys are just going to cheat again. And I love how there's no attempt to deny that they ever cheated. It's just that the Foxy Pirates are like, no cheating, because the rules are taken super seriously. This is a traditional type of game that goes back like hundreds of years. And that's part of the reason why the rule book is so huge, is because there's been so much time for them to craft exactly how the game should be played and the exact rules that are necessary based on weird shit that has happened in other games, which genuinely comes up. And there is more than one time in the midst of all of this that I was watching going, oh, I'm sure that's going to get them disqualified. And indeed it is. So Chopper goes out to play with Luffy in the first round. I love that he turns himself tall, and Portia's in the audience going, oh my God, he's not even cute anymore. And I was just like, honestly, I feel you on that a little bit though. So the ball goes flying into the air, and these two dudes are so focused on trying to punch Luffy and Chopper into the ground that they don't even really try for the balls. And Luffy and Chopper get them both pretty quickly. And they throw down, and the first person they go for is Foxy. And they nail him right in the face. And they're like feeling themselves. But it turns out hitting in the face is not valid. So he is not out of the game. Article 23. Hits to the face don't count. So honestly, though, I really enjoyed, again here, Hamburg is laughing at his collapsed boss. Hamburg for the win forever. This dude constantly laughing at everybody is giving me so much life. Between him and all the dudes in the audience who are absolutely equal opportunity fuckwiths, they don't care who wins, it doesn't feel like. They just genuinely want to cause as much chaos as possible. So they side seemingly at random with whoever in a given moment. There's no loyalty here. So really, Hamburg feels kind of like the crowd. But yeah, he is sitting behind his boss, who is still recovering from these fucking 2 dodgeballs to the face, giggling. And Chiquita is like, you shouldn't laugh at him. You're going to make him cry. So at this point, it's Zoro and Nami and is it just Zoro and Nami? Or is it just Zoro and Sanji? I'm trying to remember how this goes. Zoro and Sanji together. Okay, Nami doesn't go out here. I thought that they did. And the two of them go really fucking hard. And because of the way these dudes are lined up together, they manage to take a bunch of them out at once. They're up against multiple groups. 18 members of Team Foxy are going out of bounds. So yeah, they each knock 9 people out. Zoro's irritated because he thought he'd get more than Sanji. And the fact that they managed to do this and get so many out was very funny. I didn't think that would be allowed. Apparently, no problem. Sure. So then there's the way that, for example, Nico Robin can use her powers to grab the balls out off the ground and toss them over to whoever needs them. And then Luffy makes himself into a slingshot with his power in order to throw it really hard. And just the variety of ways people use their powers. Later on, Sanji kicks the ball at somebody. And then we have the whole thing with Zoro slicing the ball in half. And that was the thing that made me kind of stop and go, oh no. I mean, I get that you kept it from hitting you, but I have to assume that that's against the rules. Indeed it is. Yes, cutting the ball in half is not allowed, which is just goes to show you what this game must be like for that to have been written into the rules at all. And then there is the swallowing of the ball by Luffy. And Luffy swallowing it, I had, like, he's holding it in his mouth. He's caught it. And for a moment, I'm like, dope, you did it. And then he fucking swallowed it, and I was like, no, there it goes. That's gotta be breaking the rules. Yep, sure is. And on top of that is a moment where Luffy is trying to throw the ball at Foxy, and he's doing the sort of slingshot method, but he throws his hand so far behind his own head, and the ball, I guess, is light, that he doesn't feel Porch just grab the ball out of his hands. And it's done so funnily, because the ball just winds up right in front of her, and all she does is say something like, oh, hello. Like, this isn't a plan. She didn't set this up. Luffy is just not really, like, paying attention. It's the sort of thing that a person winds up to give you this big punch, but they wind up leaving their whole front open so you can just punch them before they punch you. Or they kick you and you just grab their leg and throw them down. He's just not really thinking this through. So he continues with his throw, not realizing that he doesn't have the ball anymore. And also Foxy doesn't. So he, like, winds up ducking for quite a while before realizing. Then there's their, like, giant dude. They have yet another one. And he chucks the balls at them. And I love how everybody just gets out of the way in time. No problem. Except for Usop. All of them dodge it. It's no problem. Not only does Usop go down, though, he goes down so hard that he takes out 22 other Team Foxy members, which cracked me the fuck up. Like, yeah, they got him, but they also got half their own team, more than half. So, I guess. I hope that worked out for you guys. But what comes up after this is the introduction of the top secret item of Hit and Dead Ball, the Mr. Accu Cannon. And this is the thing that they're like, well, obviously we're going to have to take this out, this dude, because it's going to be Foxy that's controlling it, of course. Usop runs up to the ref and is just like, how is this thing against the rules? And off to the side, Robin is like, oh, no, the Accu Cannon's totally allowed. And Usop is like, what the fuck? Why are you acting like you've heard about this before? And she says, I didn't know what it was referring to, but I did come across it in the rule book. And it turns out Robin has been studying this. And there comes a point later on where the hit to the top of the head is like something that she points out as being valid. Because the ref, one of his, like, cronies tries to say that top of the head doesn't count. And she's like, no, yes, it does. And I love that, like, the actual boss ref, who is the veteran one, yells at his own underling and is like, I can't believe that you would shame me by getting that wrong. I just love Robin being like, yeah, no, I'll sit down and pick up this book and get it mostly read by the end of this. It's beautiful. It's very good. Also, when Foxy tries to fire this the first time, he goes after Zoro, and the way that he goes after him, like, as I've mentioned, Zoro cuts it in half, but what he tries to do is take advantage of the fact that now that everybody has sort of caught on to Portia's power with her hypnosis, they begin to realize if they don't look at the flowers she's using to do it, it won't work. So everybody closes their eyes when she tries to go for the attack with that. So what Foxy is thinking off to the side is, if I just shoot while their eyes are closed, they won't be able to do anything about it. But Zoro is trained, like, dealing with shit with their eyes closed is like half of what swordsman do, probably. So he cuts it in half. But yeah, like, it's just, it doesn't matter. And everybody's cheering for him and very impressed with the fact that he was able to do this. But when he is sent out, nobody seems to have a problem with that. I was kind of wondering, when everybody's cheering and then it turns out that that person is being disqualified, is the crowd going to get mad about it? And it seems like behind Zoro, there are some people with like angry faces. So it's not like they immediately switch and go, yeah, you broke the rules. But nobody lifts a finger to stop it because it's in the rule book and that is all there is to it. However, as much as that was really frustrating to watch, because I had a feeling he wasn't going to be allowed to do that. Fucking Sanji is on the sidelines smirking about how Zoro is off. And the thing we just saw happen to Sanji is that there was a group of girls that were all very cute, telling him to please not hit their boss. Will you give us the ball and let us knock you out instead? And he literally says, hit me as hard as you want, or like wherever you want, and lays down on the grass in front of them and waits for them to hit him in the fucking body. Sanji, you should never make fun of anybody ever again in your life. That is so humiliating, sir. That's just it. Your cred, whatever you had of it, it's gone. I'm sorry. And like, Zoro can be a pain in the ass and he can be an old man about shit sometimes, but this is truly embarrassing. And the fact that he has the unmitigated gall to be like, see, you got knocked out of the game after that display is shocking. It's just unbelievable, the audacity. Sir, whatever you decide to do in your own time, that is your business. If you want to engage in femdom and lay on the floor in front of a group of women and be like, hit me as hard as you can, as many places as you want, fine. On your time, sir. But not right now. It's not the time and place for it. Stop it. Get a hold of yourself. Have some self-respect. Christ. The only thing that almost works to stop him doing this is Nami yelling, if you don't get the fuck up right now, I am going to hit you myself. And he starts to sit up because it's a woman. It's too late, though. They hit him in the head. They hit him in the top of the head, which had just been established was allowed. So, yeah, that moment is really something. Like, I have such a love-hate relationship with the way that they have this with Sanji. It's super funny. And at the same time, I just want to kill him a little bit. Just a drop, you know? I will say, though, I appreciate whenever Nami, like, weaponizes it. Because if he's gonna be a fucking moron about Nami, which he will be, whether they decide to take advantage or not, you may as well do some good with it. So her being like, Sanji, win this game for me when he's in the midst of a fight with Zoro, I do not blame her one little bit for deciding to do it that way. Like, that feels to me like the right way to act. It's for the best, you know? And afterward, if he thinks about the overall circumstances, this is the thing that I always want from him, is like, after he makes a dumbass decision because of cute girls, I want there to be like a regret moment later. And that doesn't mean that he has to change his behavior. I just would like for afterwards for him to always be like, oh, I can't believe I did that, but she looked so beautiful. I couldn't help myself. But that never really seems to happen. It feels like every time he does this, afterward, he pretty much is like, what was I supposed to do? She was super hot. Come on, guys. I mean, let's be reasonable here, you know? So Anyway, yeah, the fact that he tries to say anything to Zoro, I was just like, you better fucking nod. So, now it's Chopper and Luffy left, and it's only Foxy. And he's got that fucking gun. So, Chopper eats another rumble ball, and he turns himself into a giant ball of fur. And we get a thing where he shoots toward them, and Luffy does a backflip to get out of the way. And this dude gets knocked out from the side. It sends the ball hitting Chopper. And it looks like they're going to say Chopper got knocked out. But his head comes out of the spot where he was hit. So then we have a moment of the whole call resting on whether they think it was his face that got hit. Nobody can tell. And eventually the audience is just like, yeah, no, he's a real pirate, a real man of the sea, and he sacrificed himself, and that was his face. Let him keep playing. And eventually, just out of pure peer pressure, the refs are like, yeah, okay, yeah, it hit his face. He can keep playing. And there was something so funny about them getting like bullied into this. And even like the announcer, who is supposed to sort of remain unmoved by either side, he is off to the side and is like crying a little bit as he says, while it did hit you in the face, you are still out of bounds. Just after his gutsy face catch was given the okay. What a pity. Dr. Chopper is out of the game. Even so, he's still a true man of the sea. That shit was funny. I really like all of this. Everybody being so impressed with Chopper, whether it's because he's cute or because he's good at this game, is giving me life. I love it so much. I've talked a lot about how often he has been gaslit in his life, and he just needs more of this. And the whole like moment, he says something because Luffy comes up to him and is like, hey, are you okay? And he says, yeah, but I'm out of the game now. And Luffy says, never mind that. Thanks, Chopper. You did great. And Chopper in the dub, he says something like, what makes you think I even wanted to hear that? That doesn't even make me happy at all, you jerk. And he's like delighted. Every time we get this reaction from Chopper, it just warms my heart so much. Sometimes people just need praise. They just do. You know, it's fine. So we are now down to just Foxy and Luffy. And he is, reminder, in that giant fucking weird machine that shoots balls. And he tells Luffy, just go ahead and lose like a good little boy. And this machine, honestly, there's a part of me that's like, I know it's supposed to be an advantage. That being able to target people and shoot at this velocity is supposed to be it's just supposed to be unbeatable. But it's making you like sit straight in place in a way that feels like it's actually not an advantage at all. You're being locked into position, and dodging when you're in this thing, I have to assume, is going to be a lot harder. So every time I watched this, I was like, that's weird. I don't feel like this is as awesome and what's the word I want? Just like unbeatable a position to be in as he seems to think. So then they add a new factor in. And it turns out they're going to have the audience holding fake balls, and they're going to mix them in with the real balls so that Luffy doesn't know which ones to dodge and which ones to catch. Well, he could catch all of them. Which ones to dodge or which ones to allow himself to get hit with, pretty much. And this is when he like yanks his hand back. the ball gets taken away from him by Porsche, and she hands the ball behind her back to everybody in the audience, who shuffles them with the fake balls, so that once they go back out onto the field, nobody will know which are which. Now, here's the thing that I am questioning, because Luffy winds up catching all of the balls, right? That's what he decides to do, is catch every single one so that none of them count. And he manages to do it. As he's catching them, of course, we've got Frenchie behind him. And I keep thinking of him as Frenchie, even though his accent just like feels really weird and all over the place. It's just kind of like a vibe. And he's gearing up behind him with one ball. Now, it is, I guess, a guarantee, right, that the ball being fired on him from that gun is definitely a real ball. I just want to make sure I've got this, because like I could see it being an exploitable sort of loophole if it wasn't for certain that that was a real ball. If he swallowed it, maybe it doesn't count in the rules that he swallowed a ball. Maybe it's just, I swallowed a fake ball and so it's fine, no big deal. I am assuming though that because this dude he wasn't part of the shuffle line, that he has to have had like the other one real ball. So, you know, I want to have there be like a loophole here, but can't do it. And yeah, this is when it's announced, because Luffy catches it, swallows it, and the ref is just like, that's against the rules. So sorry about that, but you lose. And the episode ends with them having lost, but the crew hasn't chosen what they're going to do, whether they're going to like take their flag or if they're going to take one of their crew members has not been decided yet. So I guess we'll have to see what happens. And Nami and Usop seem pretty certain they're going to be the ones that get got. But a couple of dudes pass by them at one point and are like, hey, don't worry. We don't want either one of you. And they're both so offended. And they say, you're too scared and you're too scary to Nami. And I did think that was fun. I just really like the bit of everybody always thinking that they're so valuable they're going to get taken, because it happens with both sides, and I just find that really funny. All right, I'm going to wrap. Thank you again very much to Florian for commissioning this. Thank you to Gus for hanging out in the chat. Gus, I think you're the only one today. I'm wondering if we're having another problem with people accessing the events, because I had this yesterday. We'll have to see. If people were trying to get in, sorry for y'all. I don't know what's going on, but Crowdcast has been having some issues. And hopefully next time we won't have this problem. But until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.